Welcome to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, where there's always another secret.
Welcome back, Sixers, to episode 85 of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies. Today is June 7th, 2021. I'm Bill, and I'm joined, as always, by my quieting co-hosts, Amy and Jordan. Welcome, guys.
That's fitting today.
It was good. It's a good one.
Before we get started, we do want to remind our listeners that the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is not a spoiler-free podcast. That means if there is something in the Cosmere you haven't read and you're worried about hearing spoilers, you might want to go read those first, then come back and join the discussion. Tonight, we are talking about the epigrams from Part 5 of Rhythm of War, as well as the characters surrounding them. The mysterious fused L, or as I like to call it, who the L is this guy?
Oh,
Sorry. Oh, gosh. For those of you who listen to the podcast recordings or watch the videos on YouTube, we'd like to remind you that it's possible for our listeners to interact with us live via chat and mock me as I make horrible, horrible jokes as we record each episode at www.twitch.tv/InKeepersTable. We record episodes of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies every other Monday night, starting at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, so please join us and take an active part in the discussion. The Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is made possible by the support of our listeners and patrons. The show will continue to be free, of course, but if you want to help us out, head on over to patreon.com/Cosmere Studies. Even pledging a couple dollars per episode really helps us out as we work to improve the show. Patrons get immediate access to our Discord channel where you can talk about the show and the Cosmere with other listeners. It's a great community with lots of great discussion about the Cosmere, about pretty much everything under the sun. You also get early access to bonus episodes, exclusive access to other bonus content, and other good stuff. And as a special thank you, we have a brand new producer who will be going only by the term Mim's Laundry Service.
So, yes.
Not the Mim who works at Dragonsteel Productions, the Mim who cleans up after Mraze. Just so we're clear.
that was one of those things that after, one, getting to meet her, two, just the fact that she the character in story cleans up after someone who's clearly a world hopper. I'm just like, that's appropriate. That kind of fits.
I like it.
But yeah, we have a producer, so that's awesome because that means
cool.
we hit a goal, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do have... Jordan, do you want to talk about what's going on with that?
Yeah, so we had a goal at, I forget the dollar.
96, I think it's 96.
Yeah, $96. We had a goal that if we hit that, then we would actually put together some swag. People can get some SICS swag.
Some merch.
The SICS-ist of swag.
So we'll start working on that and putting that together, and hopefully that'll be up soon.
Yeah,
if you have things you want, let us know and we'll see if we can make that happen.
Yeah, no promises, but if you have suggestions, definitely let us know.
Yeah, we're gonna be looking. We have some ideas of our own, but in the Discord, if you're a part of it, we're probably gonna be asking for some feedback on some ideas. And also, we're now only, I believe, $2 away from the next one.
About
14.
16 actually.
Oh, was it 14?
It was 14 or 16, something like that.
So okay. 14 sounds right.
Oh, I was trying to do it based on memory.
So we're close to the next.
Yeah, but we're close to the next one as well, which would be a monthly monologue where one of us would just take a topic and just do a monologue sort of as a bonus episode once per month. So
just sort of random. So instead of the musings of L, it'd be the musings of Bill or
Amy
of
or Jordan.
Amy or of Jordan.
One of those definitely flows better than the other.
But which is it?
That's definitely Bill.
So speaking of L, okay, so little background on who this character. We can't really give background on who this character is because we know so very little about him. The first thing that I've noticed is this is the person who used to be called Vire, the quieting one, or he who quiets.
Yeah.
And of course we know that name has gone to someone else.
Yeah.
Who will not be named because, and yes, Bearded Jeff in chat says, we know he old because he's definitely been around a while.
Yeah.
He's a fused. Mm-hmm. And he's got some interesting accessory ideas.
Yeah.
So the first visual exposure we get to him is actually when what's the pursuer?
Pursuer, yeah.
Creepy
Lesrian.
Nightcrawler. What's his name?
Lesrian. The defeated one.
Or no, Larazan. That's his name.
I don't know. Point is, he's defeated.
Yeah, so when he's defeated by Kaladin, he goes back to Braze and hovers around in there for a while, but he comes back much more quickly than normal. And he shows up right in front of this horrifying fused.
But who's still kind of in the shadow, because we don't get too much description about him.
Well, except that we know that he removes his carapace every time he's reborn and replaces it with metal.
With metal, which is weird.
So that's kind of creepy. It's got sort of a Deathwing from WoW thing going with it.
Yeah. So there's something interesting with that because we did get this all from the defeated one's perspective, and he says that it's something to do with his own specific, I think he says talents or powers or something that lets
and
him...
his healing abilities.
Void Light healing and his particular powers.
Which is interesting because my first thought would have been progression or transformation, but we've seen both of those already. Because progression were the ones that they like grow their carapace out and make like clubs and stuff with their...
And spikes and swords and...
Their bodies.
I mean, it could also be something similar to the Stone Wards.
Yeah.
You know, or it could also be something similar to soul casting.
No, because soul casting is what Raboniel was, I believe. Let's see. This grants them... Sorry, I pulled it up. The Fananim. There's no way I pronounced that correctly. The fuse to interact with the surge of transformation. Trying to find who the reference was. Rhythm of War, chapter 37. I don't know.
I don't have it in front of me.
I was looking for it.
Anyway.
But, yeah, so it's not him. It's not that, apparently. So what surges does that leave? I'm looking down the list here. There's,
Cohesion.
Okay, gravitation, abrasion, progression, illumination, transformation, transportation, and cohesion, which are the deepest ones. The ones that...
Or maybe there's something special.
But that's 7 of the 9.
Right, but maybe this is something very particular to El himself.
Yeah, just him.
Who knows? But my first instinct will go for the simpler solution. But
I don't know, because the way that Larazan described it, it seemed like this was his particular skills, not just...
Well, and who knows how many there are, because we also haven't seen any of... We've only seen the one, whatever Nightcrawler is. I'm not going to try and pronounce their names again. That was a mistake. And then we've only seen one of whatever Raboniel was. Mm-hmm. And so it could be that there's just not that many of them, and he's the one that's progressive.
We've also seen dozens and dozens of what Leshwi is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's who knows. But there's also a chance that, because the other thing is we're dealing with people going crazy, he might be the only sane one left.
Yeah, they may just not have come back yet, or they may just be hanging out somewhere else.
Sane-ish. Anyone who rips off their own carapace to replace it with metal. It's just like, what benefit does that really give? Unless it's like
Metal's
aluminum.
Stronger than carapace.
Except they fight people with shard blades, so it doesn't matter.
It might be an aesthetic thing, you know. He likes the shiny stuff.
Unless
they don't fight only people with shard blades.
I mean, but for the most part, like the specialized ones seem to. I don't know. I'm trying to think, if it is aluminum, that might be interesting because he can't hear the rhythms anyway. So
I thought it was that he
But-
couldn't
but-
speak
but
with
it-
them, not
but-
hear them.
He's denied rhythms. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean like
He
he
can't
wasn't
hear them.
always like
yeah.
that.
No, but I'm wondering if it's one of these things. I wonder how recent it is. We don't know how long ago he lost his rhythms. Obviously, we don't know. Like, that's the whole point of this guy, is we don't know who he is. But it's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Plus, he just walks around with an anti-void light knife and just doesn't seem worried.
Yeah.
It's like, don't trip.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
That would be a rather ignominious way to go out.
That'd be terrible.
yeah, but yeah,
He has
he
horns.
just is confident in himself. He's there are people who are trained with weapons who are comfortable walking around with them.
Yeah.
I would be panicking like an idiot, but that doesn't mean other people aren't comfortable just because they're familiar.
Yeah, it's just walking. There's one thing walking around with a weapon that can kill you. There's another thing walking around with a weapon that can rip your soul apart. I just would feel a little more nervous in that situation.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's fair. Either way.
No, but he has horns. Like, and so he's in the musings. He talks about how they portray us as devils, and it's like, you literally have horns.
Well, and that's the other
Much
thing
more
is
like it.
other singers, other fused don't have horns.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
clearly there's something very different about this guy.
Yeah.
He's not a normal singer. He's not even a normal fused.
No. Well, then there's the
Like,
fact
he's
that
done something to the point where rhythms are denied him. So he's ticked somebody off.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it was, at least it seemed to me in the reading, that was implied by his suggestion that they don't kill the humans. That
The
they
humans, but just use them.
that's at least
Right.
how I read it. But
in his musings, and
Yeah.
that's a fair point. So let's get to those actually. So he starts off with the first thing he says is, "I look forward to ruling the humans." So the guy's got some ambition,
Yeah.
But
some confidence
different,
there.
different from the other fused. He doesn't want to destroy them. He wants to lead them. He doesn't want to dominate them. He wants to lead them. He wants to recondition them. He says, "I had my title and rhythm stripped from me for daring incest. They should not be killed, but should instead be reconditioned, repurposed. Humans are weapons. We singers revere passion, do we not? How can we throw away such an excellent channeling of it?"
yeah, it's one.
It's almost scarier
yeah.
than
well,
wanting to just kill them.
It's the fact that he takes a step back and he looks at the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. And
Well, if you remember, Odium came through with the humans from
Yeah.
from Ashen. And, and suddenly, everybody flipped
Everybody
loyalties
flip sides.
and-
Yeah.
and he recognizes this. He's like, this is natural to them.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we discard such a potent tool? And so he's basically kind of trying to harness the passion that humans inherently carry in them.
well, and I think it's interesting that he's the one that seems to appreciate humans the most. And my first thought was, well, he doesn't have his rhythms, so that makes sense that he'd be the one who would understand the most. But then I remember he lost the rhythms for insisting this before, so he had this
Exactly.
appreciation before he lost the rhythms.
Sort of the same way that Raboniel has an appreciation for Navani and for human ways of science.
And their ingenuity and all their how they've learned things that they
Well,
haven't
and-
bothered
and-
to progress with.
I'm trying to remember what it is in the Rhythm of War, the actual book. One of the notes, the first time we hear of Elle is in the notes of the Rhythm of War. Something about
Really?
yeah. If you go back and look, she said I can't remember what it is. If one of you has those notes handy,
I'm gonna look in Coppermind. And see
yeah,
if I
go
can find
look
it.
up the epilogue. But there's something that Raboniel says Elle would be interested in this, and then Navani
That
responds.
does sound familiar.
she responds with a, "You've mentioned this, this a couple times. Who is this guy? Is he important?" type of thing.
Oh, that's right, in the undertext.
Yeah, somewhere in the undertext, and that was the first time we had heard of L, and then this shows up. So it shows that at the very minimum, Raboniel, who clearly looks down on a lot of the other fused, views L as somewhat of a peer.
She elevates him above the rest.
Now, Bill, I'm gonna have to get on you here. You're taking all my bits, and I'm not comfortable with this.
You're not jumping on these.
Look, some grenades shouldn't be jumped on. No, but
so boom goes the dynamite.
Boom goes the dynamite. No, but yeah, no, but the whole thing is that he's important clearly within their, like, in the higher echelons of their society, just the same way Raboniel was. So it's interesting. Like even Lerzian or what, I don't know, Pursuer. Larazan. He like he says, in his thing, he's like, he feared no one. But L, he can be difficult.
Yeah.
And just think of the other fused who all hate the humans for the most part. And then this guy shows up. He's got metal carapace and a very different outlook. All of them who are used to dealing with insane fused and regularly have to, they look at him and they're just like, him I'm not comfortable with.
I don't know how to deal with him, yeah.
But you're comfortable with the person over there in the corner just giggling to themselves for no reason. I don't know. There's something unsettling about that these people who are used to dealing with a certain level of dysfunction, they view L as the scary one.
And I have to apologize. I was saying it wrong too. It's Lesian.
Lesian.
No R.
There's no R. Why did I think there was an R?
There's lots of words that sound really familiar. I'm flipping through the part 4 epigrams and I haven't found it yet, but I will keep looking.
What are you looking for?
She's looking for
the mention of L.
Oh, the mention of L.
Yeah, while she's doing that, maybe we'll continue with his actual musings.
Yeah, so let's continue with the musings.
Okay.
So the next thing he says is, "I love their art." There's something in a narrative that makes a villain interesting when they appreciate art. In Star Wars Rebels, they did it with Thrawn.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Where he studied their art and he appreciated their art.
And he took Hera's thing too. I was not cool with that.
Because as you study art, it's a way to get insight into a culture and to look at how they view things and how they understand things. And so the fact that he one of the first things he says is, "I love their art."
Yeah,
You're just okay, he's looking deeper.
I immediately thought of Thrawn as well. Now, I didn't read the Extended Universe books, but I was around a lot of people who did, and I couldn't help but hear of Thrawn. Like, they wouldn't shut up about him. They're just like, he's so cool.
Yeah, like, I remember my sister had read them, and she would tell me some of the plots and things like that, and she'd always mention that, like, with him with the tone of, like, oh, he's really cool, but I could never figure out why. And then the only place I've actually seen him is in Rebels. And I liked what I did of him there, even though I always have a hard time with villains who are very competent because they frustrate me because I want the good guys to win. But it makes a good story that way.
But no, the fact that he doesn't just appreciate the art, as we'll see here in a second. He actually attempts to do their art because later on he tries to do poetry in their style. Like, so
he does a Ketek.
Yeah, so
the final Ketek in this book was written by L.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that he doesn't just appreciate it; he attempts it. It shows he's really trying to understand them.
Mm-hmm.
So I did find the reference earlier. So it's in chapter 59. It's this point regarding the rhythm of war's emotional influence will be of particular interest to L. So that's
Emotional influence. Interesting.
so yeah. So I wonder if that's because he's lost his rhythms, which is how they express their emotion, that maybe he can get them back if he's using that light.
Or maybe he's trying to see the emotional influence on the humans. Because
That's possible, too.
Well, 'cause one of the things that, at least in this book, I remember with Venli, she talks about how at times, she could almost she felt like the humans almost heard the rhythms, like the way they reacted to certain things. And I'm wondering, Elle might have made the same observation.
Connection.
It would also, though, the fact that he has the rhythms denied to him could emphasize a deeper fascination.
True.
With
How do
them.
you do emotion or in other things when he can't?
Exactly.
And it's not explicitly said that he can't hear them, though. It's just said that he's denied them. So I interpreted that as he can't use them.
It's said that they were stripped from him. He says, I had my title and my rhythms stripped from me.
Yeah.
So he may not be able to feel them.
Yeah,
Which
that's
would be even worse. I
Which
had always
actually
interpreted it
makes
as just
sense
not
when you
speaking
think
it, but
of
yeah.
when you think of what's going on with Moash. Is he has his emotions muted. So
Yeah.
if Odium can do the same sort of thing, stripping his rhythms, his passions, the rhythms sort of flow with their passions.
would make sense why they share a title as well.
Yeah, that would. That one was gifted with it and the other one was harmed with it. Or
Yeah.
punished.
There is a connection there. I don't like.
Right.
I'm not 100% certain what it means, but there's something there. At the very minimum, some poetic
Symmetry?
resemblance. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
But they, I like the way he looks into the art. He says, because he's fascinated by the way humans view the singers and the fused. The way they depict us is divine, all red shades and black lines. We appear demonic and fearsome. They project all fear and terror upon us. Also, red shades and black lines reminds me of the portrait in Warbreaker.
Which one?
The one that the Light Song sees, where he sees
the one he keeps seeing over and
it's
over
the red
again.
one, the one he doesn't burn.
Right.
Yeah.
I had to
The
go
one
back
that he
and look
refuses
at
to
that.
burn. It's just and that might just be an aesthetic that Brandon happens to like.
Yeah,
but-
red is a passionate color usually is how it's interpreted.
But he's talking about art, and he says, the way they depict us is all red shades and black lines, and that's just the image that came to my mind was that portrait.
Yeah, and my mind went to same place Doc and Chats went, where I just think Darth Maul.
yeah,
which-
there's
the
like
pattern, because it's what black, white, and red are their
Well, 'cause
colors,
they have the horns as well.
their skin tones.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I immediately think
Elle
Maul.
has the horns.
That's what I mean.
But
Like that's
has there been any talk about any other singers with horns?
I've seen them drawn with horn-like structures before.
I've seen them drawn with protrusions, but this is very specifically
I could have sworn there
described
was
as horns.
I could have sworn there was one that was briefly mentioned that had horns or something similar to that, but I don't know exactly what it
Yeah,
was.
I'd have to go back and reread all descriptions of them, and that's a lot.
Because the way that that Leslie describes it, it says the figure had twisting horns on his head and carapace that reflected their light wrong. And so it's just, I don't know, that seems,
Yeah, at the very minimum, it's
Noteworthy.
rare.
yes. Like,
Yeah.
there are crests, there are protrusions, carapace protrusions, but I've never heard it described as horns until that point. And so that makes it almost seem demonic, devilish,
Well, and I find it interesting that he uses the word, they project all fear and terror upon us. Mm-hmm. And how he likes that.
Yeah, he continues, he says, to humans, our very visages become symbols. You find echoes of it even in the art from centuries before this return. So he's just recognizing humans remember the fused.
Mm-hmm.
Centuries after they've been gone, they remember the fused. That just, those images,
the imagery
stuck with them.
is right there, yeah.
In that, I just think of all of Yesna's old studies before, when she was trying to figure out the desolation was returning, and how she was going to sources, trying to get to sources before the return.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting that he's sort of, again, studying sort of the same thing, but he just has a very different perspective on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and he's studying them the same way she's studying. It's a very interesting potential foil for Yasna. Actually, that's a good point.
I hadn't thought of him as a foil,
Because
but yeah.
she's been studying the singers, the listeners, trying to learn more and understand them, and he's doing it right back. I don't know, like, Elle is a fascinating character.
And we only know, like, this itty-bitty amount about him, and he's still just lots and lots of questions.
And he's terrifying.
Well, it's sort of like, a lot of times, Bill knows this probably more so. I love to psychoanalyze people to try and understand it. Just what motivates it, what makes them tick. And the thing is, when people don't like being psychoanalyzed, and even if you do it back, it's mutual. And it's interesting because, Yesna would know academically people are studying her, but for someone who's so self-controlled, because she understands that she has to project a certain persona, being the fact now she's a queen, but even before that as a princess, she has to project herself in a certain way.
She's got a certain image to uphold, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be very disturbing for her to have someone studying her back and trying to get inside that mask.
Yeah, I do the same sort of thing, and I don't do this often, but every so often I will call friends out on stuff. Just sort of, sometimes it's like a shot in the dark, but other times I just hit dead on. And if I hit dead on, like a friend was doing something, and I said, well, that's because this, and this. And they just looked at me and they're just like, don't do that.
You're not supposed to notice that.
Because it's just like, that's private. That's personal. You're not supposed to see that.
Now, Bill, I don't like that you have just, put out for everywhere the incident where you knew that I was hiding the cookies in specific drawers. That just wasn't nice.
I don't recall this.
There's a better place
because it's
for
a fake
cookies.
thing. Although, to that note,
I don't recall this.
This is a complete aside. My dad was supposed to be on a diet, and he just said he was on the diet, and my mom said something about she was going to take out the garbage. Like, oh no, let me. And she's like, that's weird. And so when he went out, she went over and she found he had been hiding cookies underneath the trash bags, so that he had. And she just holds it up when he walks. He's just like, well, and she's like, why are you doing this? I didn't make you go on the diet.
You're a grown man.
You went to the diet. Yeah. For the record, this isn't early in the marriage. My dad was 55. This is fairly recent.
So he was almost a full-grown man.
Almost. No, but it's just that sort of thing. No one likes it when you start to figure out what makes them tick. And that's with, my parents have been married for how many decades? They still don't like it.
Yep.
So yeah, now I want this build. Now I want Yesna versus Elle.
Mm-hmm. So, watch them struggle, is what he says. Witness their writhing, their refusal to surrender. Humans cling to the rocks with the vigor of any Rasharan vine. I love this imagery, and again, it shows his fascination with... I like it when in science fiction or fantasy, other races recognize certain drives and just yes, that this is what it is to be human.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the tenacity, the stubbornness, the refusal to let go, to give up. That always seems to be one of the things that comes up in those sorts of stories.
Yeah. Well, and it also has a significant meaning, given how many of the fused, Raboniel herself, talk about how humans they are of Roshar, they don't belong here. And he compares them. Yeah, compares them to that. Like, what didn't she say? Didn't she say something like that to Navani?
She was, her and Navani had a chat about it, and Navani was like, "Excuse me, I was born here. My grandmother was born here. You know, like my people have been here a long time.
Yeah,
I am part of Roshar. You know.
Yes.
Maybe humans came from somewhere else, but now we are part of Roshar.
This is our home.
Yeah. So I like that he's kind of leaning that way and saying and like doing all these comparisons for how they fit in on Roshar, even though they didn't start there.
Well, and it shows because Raboniel needed Navani to sort of open her eyes to that, whereas he's already there. He gets it.
Yeah.
Speaking of comparisons, he goes into a list of not comparisons but contrasts.
Yeah.
Of human nature. He says humans are a poem, a song. For one so soft, they are somehow strong. For one so varied, they are somehow intense. For one so lost, they are somehow determined. For one so confused, they are somehow brilliant. For one so tarnished, they are somehow bright, radiant. And that word is the epigram all by itself, just radiant. And it stands out in these books for obvious reasons.
Well, and it's such a good comparison, because I've always compared all these forms they take, you know, sort of like an ant colony where there's specific, you know, breeds of ants for specific jobs, and so they take the forms a similar way. And I remember, I think it was one of the Eshonai's chapters where she's, you know, just like, how do they focus when they're, you know, they constantly have mate form at all times.
Urges, you know, like it's all these things that are in their head.
Somehow confused, they are somehow brilliant, because they're trying to find scholar form, because that's what they need. But the humans somehow, despite constantly being confused because they have mate form, they also always have scholar form. And even though they are varied, they're still somehow intense, because you'd think that they're the more intense ones, because when they do something, they do it, you know, that's all you do. But somehow
that is their focus.
And it's just interesting.
Yes. Same thing. Yeah, for one so varied, they are somehow intense. Like, because there's the singers and listeners are essentially a race of specialists.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, down to the fact that the fused,
they could change their specialty. What?
Yes, down to the fact that the fused only have one surge. But they do that one surge so well.
Yeah.
But that's sort of a theme that Brandon has shown in a lot of his books, is the resonances.
Yeah.
Where you have two different things and they play on each other and create something new. You know, each of the different orders of Knights Radiant have it. The Twinborns in Mistborn have it. There are different things where when you combine things, it's not just I have power A and power B. Power A and power B combine in some sort of way to create power C.
Yeah, but they don't have that. They only have the one surge, but they master it.
Right.
Very similar to Vin's realization in Mistborn of the Mistings just have so much better command of their one ability than Kelsier has of his multiple abilities.
Well, sort of like the savants as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the ones who have just fixated so specifically on an individual ability that it burns into them and becomes a part of their being, not just something they can do.
In some ways, that's actually that might actually kind of be what's going on with them, because they all are on some level frayed of their, you know, their soul, the way Savantism does the same thing for Mistborn.
Savantism actually damages you, and the fused over time go mad.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, it's probably more a fact of just living, but there's something there to that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you say it's an aspect of living, except that, you know, we have these other long-lived individuals who haven't gone that kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I mean the heralds
it
are.
doesn't help. Well, but the heralds
that's for a different reason. That's when they broke their oath.
But the heralds and the fuse both are going back to Braze.
They
every
were.
time.
That's also true.
The heralds were
So
praying before they
that's
broke
not-
the oath pact.
But they were going to Braze.
Yeah, but it's just.
But the type of insanity they have, I believe Brandon has said, came when they broke the oath pact.
Yeah, but
like this new insanity, like what's happening with Shalash and Taln and
Ishar and
Taln,
everything.
Taln is different because he's been tortured for 4,000 years.
Yeah.
And took it
like a boss.
Oh man.
But Nail and Ishar, and those are a magical type of insanity. Brandon has said, like, there is a magical root to that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's just, and it's interesting how when Brandon, because one of the other things was, gosh, I'm trying to remember what it was. I can't quite remember. Oh, I think it was one of Collect's things he said. He said something about Saphandria said there's a way that we could store memory so we don't forget so much, and you know, and he's like, why would I want to remember all that I've done?
Right.
Yeah.
And so it does sort of hint at the fact that these are still mortal minds that weren't meant to comprehend the scale of ages the way that they're supposed to. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Because now we also know, although we don't know the full mechanics of it, we know Hoyd was storing memories inside breath somehow. So
Yeah. So we don't know how that works.
And we know that that Kelsier stored memory in a copper mine.
yeah,
Yeah.
We know a lot of people store stuff in copper mines.
yeah. But that way we sort of understand a little bit the mechanics of. But
they're clearly related.
yeah,
It's just that Hoyd has figured out. Hoyd is figuring out how to combine these different magic systems. He has all but Elantrian magic at this point, I believe,
Yeah, that we
of
know
the ones that we've seen.
Yeah.
I was reading something where the claim of Farukami was something recently was said that put that a little bit into doubt. But even with it, he's still clearly...
He's not necessarily a Farukamist.
Yeah.
But he has used some form of Farukami.
Yeah, he has. At the very minimum, he has some way to achieve something similar. Now, who knows what that is, but...
Okay, so moving forward in the musings of El, this is where it really starts to get interesting, because this is where he starts talking about bigger stuff. He says, and so I am not at all dissatisfied with recent events. Roshar will be united in its service of the greater war.
What?
So, if Roshar is united, then the greater war isn't limited to Roshar, clearly. The greater war is out into the bigger Cosmere. And he is serving Odium. He's not just serving Odium, though. He says, nearly as much as I look forward to serving you, newest Odium, who was so recently one of them. You understand, and you are the one I've been waiting to worship. He's talking to Taravangian.
I know, that's scary.
Well, and it's clear that he knows about Taravangian because he refers to our new god. And the way Lesian speaks of Odium in that same scene, it doesn't appear he knows that there's been a change of power.
He may have been out of the picture he may have been on Braze or whatever when it happened.
Well, and it sounds like Taravangian is fully aware of El and is just like, oh no, we're undoing this banishment. We're bringing this guy back because this guy, I can work with this guy.
He's useful.
And that terrifies me even more because El is already scary, and Taravangian saying, ooh, let's wield this guy. Let's use this guy like a scalpel.
No, thank you.
That's just a horrifying thought.
Yeah, one of the other things is just the fact that I wonder, it seems like we don't know if El is recently here, if he's been here for a while. But if he's one of the things, gosh, I want to say it was at the end of Oathbringer where some of the fused were saying, some of our most powerful haven't even arrived yet. And so I wonder if might be one of the most powerful and he may have just barely arrived. Or if he may just something about his situation makes it so that he knows things that the others don't.
Jordan, the Chandrian in chat just suggested something that's kind of blowing my mind right now. You were talking about why would he replace the carapace with metal? What if he's using some sort of metal art? Furukumi or hemalurgy?
I'm highly skeptical of that for two reasons. One meta reason. Brandon has not required people to read the other book series to understand what's going on, and I feel like whatever L's doing is going to be important enough that I doubt that he would introduce that. But
except that Brandon's been think about the epigrams for part 1. They were Navani talking about how metal influences.
Yeah,
I don't know that that's true. I think that there's.
I would be more
a chance that he's playing with it.
I would be more likely to me that it is some sort of fabrial than it is some sort of metal mine. The other reason I'm skeptical would be the fact that the technology to have unkeyed metal mines at this point doesn't seem popular. Wouldn't be something that would have gotten off world of.
They have it in Southern Scadrial.
Yeah, but the only people who'd have that would be the Southern Scadrial. Yeah, but she ain't working for them.
I'm just saying
she may bring it with her though. For her own
there
purposes.
is a whole economy and just everything going on behind the scenes, crossing between the worlds. Roshar is one of the worlds where there is crossing going on.
Yeah,
I think it's possible.
Yeah, I'd be very shocked if that's the case. I like it. Now, I don't want to say I don't. I love the concept because I love crap like this, and I'm the guy who's trying to get Kelsier to wield a shard blade in one hand and Nightblood in the other. So I can't exactly sit on the high horse here, but I just for me that I'm very skeptical of that one.
I'm telling you, it's more likely that Kelsier is going to be a shard blade.
Look,
and I want Zeth to wield them both.
Look, fine. I'll let Kelsier wield his own shard blade. It's going to be fine.
Kelsier's wielding himself.
Kelsier would find a way.
Why not? He would. If anybody would, it would be him. Oh.
What's the anime where there are people who are weapons? And
that'd be Soul Eater, and
Soul
it's
Eater.
Amazing, and people should watch this.
Oh man.
But anyway, so Roshar will be united in its service of the Greater War.
The fact that he knows about the Greater War.
The fact that he knows about the Greater War. Well, the Fused are more Cosmere aware than others. Rabonio was fairly Cosmere aware.
It seems only a few of them are as Cosmere. I don't get the impression Lesian's really, if he is Cosmere aware, he's not that. He doesn't care about it.
He's kind of a brute, though.
It's probably that the scholarly Fused know about it. The other ones, like Lesian, probably don't.
Well, I brought this up earlier with Bill. It reminds me of Section 31 in Deep Space Nine, where they're in the middle of this war, but they want Bashir to start studying some stuff of this other enemy that could be a problem after this other war. And he says, this war is not even over. You're already trying to fight the next one. And it's like, yeah, the scholarly, that's what they tend to do. This is what intelligence agents their job is supposed to do. Let's get our pieces in place so that when the next war comes, we're ready for it.
We're ready.
And
it's very Ender's Game.
Yeah. And he's already thinking of the bigger war. He sees the big picture. And it's one of these things. This is obviously, there's way too much subtext here to really know if it's true. I get the impression that the previous Odium didn't like L and was...
Oh, no. L was in trouble. He had his...
Yeah.
His rhythm.
I'm thinking he's the one who stripped him of his title and his...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Taravangian knows... He sees... First of all, he's been operating a clandestine a clandestine group for a couple decades now. And he just knows how to use people like L. He sees him as like, oh, he sees the bigger picture. We can use this guy.
Exactly. And that's why it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Says, continues, they should not be discarded, but help to their potential, their final passions. And it's just like, oh no.
Oh, no.
He wants to
Do it.
corrupt humanity, essentially. He wants to turn humanity. He wants to do to all of humanity what Odium was trying to do to Dalinar.
Yeah, make them. It almost feels like foot soldiers, and just like masses and masses of foot soldiers. And oof.
I look forward to ruling the humans nearly as much as I look forward to serving you, newest Odium. Yeah, so L is just like, okay, there's been a change in power, and it's time for me to step in. And
well, and the fact you are the one I've been waiting to worship, which implies he has always been waiting for someone else to step up. And I don't know if that means he thought that there was going to be another Odium, or if he was seeing that Odium was fraying and just sort of knew, he ain't long for this. This is eventually going to fall apart. It's just one of these things. Like, here's the other thing is, because we have no clue what he's doing. Is it possible he's the champion that Taravangian's going to pick? And that it's actually going to be
possible.
L versus...
it is possible.
I'm not sold on it. I won't discount it.
Yeah. It's just, there's so many questions about who this guy is. And the fact that Lesian, who just boasts and goes on and doesn't shut up about anything, even he's just like...
He's
Hi.
scary.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean,
how's
because
it going?
he calls him defeated one, and Lesian turns around about to rip somebody's head off, sees him, he's just like,
Oh, I
hello,
won't
sir.
talk. It's like I won't talk back to you.
What is it? It's the TF2 Meet the Pyro video. I fear no man, but that thing, it frightens me.
But the other thing that's interesting in this context is it's not just the musings of L, it's the musings of L on the first of the last 10 days.
Yeah.
Which I suspect refers to the 10 days between that Race gave to Dalinar
Yeah.
until the confrontation, the last 10 days.
Have we seen a division wielding fused yet?
Fused?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
I'm just thinking of how scared we're supposed to be of that.
Which one do they not have?
So we have in the list they have gravitation, abrasion, progression, illumination, transformation, transportation, and cohesion. Those
And
are
they
the
only
deepest
have
ones.
9 of the 10.
Meaning tension? Or no, tension would be the one that they can't get, right?
Yeah, division and tension are as yet unknown.
No, it's gravitation they don't get. That's right.
No, they have
Well,
gravitation.
no, gravitation is
that's the heavenly
Sinead
one.
Oh, is
Im-
it? Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm looking on Coppermind, it's division and tension.
I'm
are
wondering
the
if
unknown.
he's... I just realized, because the next book is going to be Seth focus. And and he's... The thing we haven't seen him use yet is division. And so I'm wondering if L might be one who uses division, which is the most destructive of the powers. Mm-hmm. And if it's supposed to sort of be account, sort of like Leshwi was to showing what she can do with gravitation compared to what the Windrunners can do. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Division is going to be scary. The ability to to just decay things.
And I mean, we still haven't seen Dustbringers really do a lot yet either.
No. Brandon said we were going to see more Dustbringers in this last book, but we didn't see a whole lot of them.
We didn't.
So I think we're going to start seeing something in book 5.
Yeah.
Well, because we have the king of what was the kingdom?
You gotta give us more.
It was the The one who
islands?
yes, the island
The
one.
Reshi Islands?
Yeah, the one who was there when why can't I think of names? Rissyn.
When Rissyn jumped off the
Rissyn
jumped off the Great Shell.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a Dustbringer, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Tukar,
that's right.
what it is. Yeah, from Dawn Shard.
Yes.
Because we get that. We get
that scene in the foyer.
Because
Isn't
it Lopin with them?
Yes, it's Lopin and his cousin, whose name is.
We're doing great with names today, aren't we?
We are
Anyway.
doing so bad. Anyway, his really articulate cousin who doesn't talk very much. Whose
Huyo?
name I cannot remember.
Huyo.
Yes, Huyo. That's right.
Good old Huyo.
Someday we'll get the names
Accidentally discovering game-changing technology. Because he decided to putz around with it.
right. That's usually how it happens.
It really is.
Oh, this is I am really, really interested to see more of L. I also wonder this is could be pure coincidence if the name Rabboni L has any connection, but it could easily just be sort of a similar.
Well, I wonder
when your name is 2 letters long, it's hard to.
I wonder if his name got shortened to L
It's
from
possible.
something else, because everybody else's name is a lot longer.
Let's see.
Like Lezian's not
Leshwi's-
super long, but it's and Leshwi, but I mean nobody else is just one syllable.
Yeah, I'm looking through all the named ones we have here. Every single one is at least 2 syllables. No, okay.
So
The only
is there another
Rhine,
one
Rhine, R-I-N-E. I don't know if it's pronounced differently, but that'd be the only one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my thought, is that maybe his name got shortened to that, and L is just a similar sound in the fused names.
And so it's sort of I don't know, but I noticed it early when I was reading, and I was just like, Rabboni L is their connection. I don't know.
I don't know.
It may, because maybe it's she's a follower of L, but I don't know, and that could be pure speculation.
We
I
just don't
forgot
know
there was
yet.
one called She Who Dreams.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten that too.
There's all sorts of names.
There's lots of names.
Just, every other one
That's
is
the fun thing about big epics like this, is there's all sorts of names that you can get to forget.
Yep.
There was a game in Wheel of Time that people would play where it's like, are they an Aes Sedai or an Ale, or are they it's like there are 3 or 4 different things. This character shows up. Which one are they?
I remember, I still haven't read them. I intend to someday. But my mom was reading through the Wheel of Time. I don't know if she's read the whole series yet. But she had to have like a notebook where she kept track of all the different groups and said, okay, this is where we left off with this group, and this is where we left off with that group.
And people do the same thing with
Well, it's the biggest problem
Stormlight.
with this is the fact that you get in these books and you're like, wait, I swear that's that other person. But I don't want to open up the wiki for fear that I might accidentally click the wrong thing and
See
spoil
something, yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only one I felt safe on this time was when the name Jor got brought up. Like, wait, isn't that the guy that was hitting on Vale? Yes, okay, that was him. No spoilers there. I'm going to be safe on Jor. There's no way he becomes plot relevant.
So, we should probably touch at least a little bit on the Ketek that L wrote,
Yes.
Yes.
because each of the books so far has had a Ketek at the end of the book. This one, again, was written by L, and it says, written by L, fused scholar of human art forms, to commemorate to restoration of the sibling. So, by restoration of the sibling, are we talking about when Navani restored it to its normalness, or are we talking about just its coming out of being hidden?
Either way, it's interesting that he would commemorate that.
Commemorate that.
It shows that he holds no hatred in his heart in this conflict. That this is all transactional.
It shows that the fused are not just one-dimensional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Raboniel showed us one side of them.
Leshwi showed us
Leshwi's
another.
shown us one side of them. Another angle of them. the Lesian showed us a completely different angle of them. And then L is just like,
Out of left
okay,
field.
there's something here.
Yeah.
But the Ketic, burdens are calling, songs of home, a knowledge, knowing a home of songs called our burden. I have no idea what that means.
So knowing a home of songs, because what I'm trying, obviously we're trying to infer a meaning. The sibling is a song. Because it's a fusion between the honor and cultivation's tones. And so a home of songs just makes me think knowing a home of songs, like sort of knowing the sibling called our burden. And I think it's just sort of burdens are what we're called to do. And so I'm trying to think of it as, I want to know if he knows about Navani. I
would be surprised if he doesn't.
Yeah. And if he understands the whole idea of people who are called to do these things, that, the whole with great power comes great responsibility type of thing.
Well, and particularly for somebody who is denied rhythms.
Yeah. But no, it's because there's so little to this. It's hard to know what
in whatever
he means.
way that means.
But there's,
I'm sure we'll look back on it and go, yep, that and that and that and that, and just all the things.
Do it. That's of course was showing that Dalinar was going to end up wielding Nightblood. Clearly,
obviously.
Yeah, it's just 3 more years, huh? 2.5 more years.
Oh man,
it'll fly by like it's nothing.
Because we'll have Wax and Wayne 4 to talk about.
We have Wax and Wayne 4. We've got Skyward 3 coming. We've got all sorts of stuff. We've got
goodies.
Secrets that Brandon won't tell us about. We've got
yes, all the fun things.
We've got a whole lot of Fortnite.
So much Fortnite. Yeah, we haven't discussed that. That happened while we were gone.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So I think we're pretty much done with the main discussion. Let's talk about some other stuff that's kind of going on, some Brandon news, because that's...
I like the little thing on his shoulder that he didn't talk about. That was cute.
I actually haven't watched that
yet. Doomslug?
So it's even in the little thumbnail.
The thumbnail.
It's a thumbnail. There's a yellow and blue creature sitting on his shoulder. That's not avian.
It's not just a yellow and blue creature. It's Doomslug.
Yeah.
We've
it's
seen
Doomslug,
pictures
yes.
of Doomslug.
But in the video, he's like, oh, and there's things I can't talk about, and he holds it out in front of him.
And the other announcement is not this. And he picks it up and he chucks it off screen. He's like, but there will be announcements coming.
Yeah.
So we got to see the Doomslug when we went to the...
Yes, we got to touch
Yes, we
it.
did.
Actually, we haven't talked about that either, have we?
Yeah, I forgot
the fact that we got to tour Dragonsteel,
and we got
warehouse.
To see Wendell.
We did meet Wendell.
Forklift.
We have pictures with Wendell. It's great.
It's
great.
So for those who maybe missed the Kara Stewart interview, they have a forklift there, and they named him Wendell, which was just too perfect.
It's awesome.
And
because he's a fork.
He's a fork. It's perfect. But going there and getting to see the operation, it is incredible the amount of logistics that's going on there.
Because they were doing all the Kickstarter stuff.
They had to have like 20 people there that night.
Well, they had more volunteers than normal, but they got a lot
done
about
because
20
they 30, they said.
Yeah.
Is what
a ton of volunteers helping fulfill everyone's Kickstarters.
Speaking of...
Oh, mine is...
I got mine.
Mine's over on the table.
My big old bag of swag has arrived.
A bag of swag?
I did splurge on the all the things pack.
Yeah. I did the step down, which is most of the things, but not all of the things. But
that's the nice thing, about that. That is one of the few benefits of being single is, in the words of, was it Jeff Foxworthy, single money is my money?
Yep, single money is my money. Do what I want when I want
to.
No,
Josh was very generous when I was like, can we do the signed leather bound with all of these other things? And he's like, yeah, we can do that. We can do the swag. I was like, oh, I love you.
As long as Brandon only comes out with these things once every 3 years.
We're okay.
Indeed.
We're okay. Yes.
Well, and the funniest part is if you get these things, you'll know because you receive it. But they just have all these stickers you put on it that, you know, to label things, and one of the stickers just says all the things on it.
All the things.
There was also a really cool piece of art there that they had that they haven't found a spot for yet, but it was someone made a tile mosaic of
all the orders.
of all the knights, or like the double eye of honor, I think it's called. I'm getting it wrong.
Yes.
Anyway,
I think.
yeah. But yeah, they did a mosaic of. Apparently, they just left, like, just gave it to them, just said, "Here you go, this is for you." It just sort of left, and they don't even know really who did it. But it's like it's incredible. We took a picture of it.
Too.
We'll need to post that somewhere.
Yeah, I think Bill has the picture. Yeah.
But yeah, it was incredible. It was so cool being there, and everyone who's there is just incredibly generous with their time and awesome. And Kara's still awesome.
Yeah.
That wasn't just on camera.
Yes.
She's like that, just in front of everyone.
It's just a great operation. We really loved going over there.
But yeah, and then Kelsier is in Fortnite.
Yes.
It's just it's random, but yeah.
It is so far out of anything I would have ever predicted.
And Brandon knew that it would be.
That nobody's gonna guess this. Nope.
It's like, no, I didn't guess that. But it makes sense because, you know, he and the guy behind Fortnite have known each other for a while. They worked together when Brandon wrote the Infinity Blades books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was just like, hey, can you
put
Kelsier on Fortnite?
All I know is all
yeah,
the gifs
sure.
people have done of Kelsier doing the various dance emotes that you can do in that game is just pure gold.
I saw one where they turned off the cape mechanics, and so all of the mistcloak strands are just stiff.
Oh no.
And it looks like he's got some sort of like tech wings on his back or something while he's dancing.
That's
I'll
the
look
thing.
these up.
That's
I
the thing
haven't
that's so
seen them.
surprising to me. Like, I bet the guy, you know, must clearly really likes Mistborn's. Like, Brandon, let's get Kelsier into Fortnite. And I just imagine Kelsier being like, "You remember the Mistcloak, right? You know about that? You sure you don't want to do, you know, what about Shardplate? Shardplate sounds easy to animate. You sure about this? No, we want Kelsier. Okay, have fun. You're the one who has to animate it."
All the little tassels.
But no,
So
it is
many.
hilarious. Just, I just like to imagine that these dancers are the dances Kelsier would have done to embarrass Vin in front of Elend.
Oh man, yeah.
The dad embarrassing dances. I like it.
Also, you guys, someone, oh dang it, I wish I remembered the name now. Someone's doing Kelsier-based webcomic right now.
What?
They're posting it a lot on the R Cosmere subreddit.
I saw that.
And it's a whole series of
about
them. It is hilarious, and I love it, and it's everything I wanted in the world.
All right. So we'll come back for final thoughts, but we do love hearing from our listeners. So please send in questions, send in topics to discuss. If you have, you can ask us questions about the Cosmere. You can drop us ideas for topics you would want us to discuss. And while you're at it, we would love to hear feedback. How do you think we're doing on the show? What are some interesting theories that you might have about what's going on in the Cosmere? Send everything, questions, suggestions, whatever, in a brief, concise email to cosmerestudies@gmail.com, and hopefully we could read that as part of the show. We do have one this week, but I forgot to pull it aside, so we'll have to talk about that one in a couple weeks. Yes. If you would prefer to send us a physical letter, we do have a P.O. Box at the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, P.O. Box 970063, Orem, Utah 84097. We also do have our own personal projects. Jordan, why don't you start us off and let us know where we can find your stuff?
You can always find me on twitch.tv/splicestream. Of note this week, E3 is around the corner, and I'm going to be doing a Thursday night stream at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm getting a couple of my regulars who are on my stream together, and we're just going to do a roundtable of predicting stuff for E3. Include a lot of the Nintendo announcements, Microsoft is doing a bunch of stuff with their new Xbox Series, and I think that's going to be a ton of fun. And then during E3 itself, I'm going to be painting a lot of Amiibo. I have some of that I have to catch up on. And we'll just be watching E3 while I paint and just discuss what's going on. So if you're someone who's excited for E3, twitch.tv/splicestream. I think you're going to like it. Because if you don't, that'll be sad. And I don't want to be sad. So let's like it.
Okay. And Amy, how about you?
So my Facebook is Coincidence Cosplay and Props. My Twitter is @CoincidenceCosp because my name is too long. My Instagram is @coincidence_cosplay. And my website is, my Etsy shop is etsy.com/shop/coincidencecosplay. And my website that I seriously need to update is www.coincidencecosplay.com. And if you happen to like Magic the Gathering and deck building, you should check out my husband's website, deckplan.io. But for what I'm working on, my daughter had her birthday, and I said I would make her a plushie, and so she requested a fox, a fennec fox, and she wants it to be blue. So I'm going to be making a blue stuffed fox. That'll be interesting.
I kind of love that.
What does it say, though?
There it was.
Oh. I talked her out of lime green. So that was...
And balance is restored. Jordan's making the horrible jokes again.
Yes. Anyway, but otherwise I'm going to be...
Correct.
Otherwise, I'm going to be working on my D&D rogue blades that I have in 4 pieces right now because they're 3D printed. But I'm going to get them welded together with ABS welding. Anyway, that's where you take a chemical that I can't remember right now, and then you get them to stick together because you melt them just a little bit and then they stick.
Cool.
And I'm going to try and work on those. So, yes.
All right. And as for myself, I have another podcast. It's my friend Dylan and I talking about board games. It's called The Innkeeper's Table. And we actually have some really, really cool news coming up in a few weeks. I can't talk about it just yet, but keep an ear out and I'll let y'all know about that in the next month or two. We do have new episodes of the podcast on Friday mornings. The most recent episode was called I Enjoyed Ticket to Ride. What should I play next? Which is basically what it sounds. If Ticket to Ride is a game that you enjoy, we have a bunch of suggestions on other games if you want to get a little bit deeper into the hobby, move past that gateway. Then the next episode we've got coming up this Friday is we're focusing on a game mechanic, and sort of in theme with the Ticket to Ride, we're talking about set collection. Games where you're trying to collect X number of something. So like in Ticket to Ride, you're trying to get 3 blue cars, and that'll help you build a route. I do have some board game reviews over on www.innkeeperstable.com, and I post about games on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at @innkeeperstable. Now, it's time for something we haven't done in quite a while, guys.
Woo!
It's time for a giveaway!
Yes! Woo!
So this time, we are giving away a copy of Isaac Stewart's children's book, Monsters Don't Wear Underpants.
Which is adorable.
Signed on the back. Mm-hmm. And it also has the...
it's lift the flap, so you get a...
It is an adorable lift the flap book where like you're seeing there's a little monster running around. He's checking to see if any of these different monsters wear underpants because he doesn't want to wear them after.
And his mom's chasing him the whole way. The poor woman.
And they're just
this book connected with Amy on a deep emotional level.
Thankfully, they kept their underwear on, but there were other things that I'd have to deal with. So yes,
it's all sorts of fun. Okay, so let's see. I will get a random number.
I already have it up.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah.
Then Jordan, why don't you give us a random number?
All right. 6.
it is Christian's Hobbyblog from Instagram.
Okay.
Gesundheit.
Yeah, I was like, oh, how do I say that? So, and I will let's see if I should have their answer still up.
Is it Christian's Haba or Christian Shaba?
Oh, it could be Christian Shaba blog. It doesn't specify.
What was how did they have to qualify again?
They would say what kind of monster would or would not wear underpants.
They would name a monster and say whether it would wear underpants or not.
So
And there were answers ranging from Brandon stuff
and
to
his
non-Brandon.
is very fitting. It's, or I don't know if it could be a she. Chasm fiends definitely wouldn't wear pants. So
That's a fair point. Too many legs.
They carry their pants with them.
Yeah.
In my version of things, they're
Okay,
basically
so
deadly giant
we will
hermit
reach out
crabs.
So we will reach out to you and get your information and get that sent out. So
Yes.
thanks for entering, and
So congratulations.
tune in next time. We're gonna try and keep these
These
giveaways
happening,
going.
yeah.
We fell off the wagon on them for a while, but we've got a bunch of stuff still to give away that's really good. So
Yes.
Still a lot in the bag of fun.
there is a whole lot in the bag of fun, and we even added a little bit to it.
I know.
So, for those of you who want to support the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, but you can't become patrons, we would love it if you'd just let your friends know about the show. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and to like and subscribe over on youtube.com/Cosmere Studies. And if you want to toss us a good review wherever you listen to us, we would really appreciate that. That would be so awesome. Jordan, do you have a mission for them to
Yeah.
a word to fit into a review?
Yes. If you could fit in the word, and it has to look. This needs to fit in just naturally. You have to get the word resplendent in the review.
Resplendent.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. So, final thoughts before we close out the episode on L and all this creepy, crazy, awesome, amazing stuff that's going on.
Sometimes it's the quiet ones that are the scariest.
But he's not quiet. He's
But
the one who...
The quieting
I don't
one.
know. The quieting ones are scary too.
All I know, one, you can never trust a poet. Just don't trust them. There's something wrong. And second, just because it's been up in the left the entire time, and I haven't had a chance to use the pun. He has horns. His name is El. Does that make him El Diablo?
Oh.
Wow, and there it is. Honestly, the way I've been picturing him is like Tim Curry in Legend. Like because I hear twisted horns and light reflecting wrong, and that's just the first thing that came up was in my mind is Tim Curry as the devil in Legend.
Now I'm going to purposely read anything he says from here on out with Tim Curry's voice.
Tim
Tim
Curry's
Curry's
accent.
voice. Oh boy.
Yeah. It's going to be great.
All right. Well, in addition to the live episodes of the show that stream on twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table every 2 weeks on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, listeners can find our videos on YouTube or audio versions of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and just about any other service that carries podcasts by searching for Cosmere Studies. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under the profile @Cosmere Studies. And if you have questions, feedback, or suggestions for the show, email them to cosmerestudies@gmail.com.
Do it.
For our next episode, we're exploring more epigrams from Rhythm of War. We'll be discussing the in-universe Rhythm of War, written by Raboniel and Navani as they study the aspects of Stormlight, Voidlight, and all other forms of Rosharan light. So make sure to be here for the live recording on June 25th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern at www.twitch.tv/Innkeeper's Table. Until then, on behalf of Amy, Jordan, and myself, thanks for listening, and remember,
There's
There's
always
always
another
another
secret.
secret.